Start recording now for mine.
Okay, good. Alright. He's just talking to me, obviously. Oh, very good.
Hi, Martin. He's not there.
Cool, I think everyone's here. Let's welcome to November's Developer Gathering. Yeah. So I'm going to chat about Cosmos and stuff, and how they get on with the business and market their stuff.
Thanks. It's not just that I was talking about. I've got that other EC2 site note.
Who picks the names of these things?
Of what?
Like Cosmos.
Software frameworks.
Okay.
I don't know why it's called Cosmos, it just is. I guess I should explain what Cosmos is for people who don't know. Cosmos is just the BBC's wrapper around AWS. So you still get normal AWS junk. I have to do this in Safari because I already logged into another AWS instance. So you still get your normal AWS junk, which is read-only for sakes of this, which is lovely, and it's only really used for debugging. So you can see all the instances and junk like that. So this is everything that's running on Cosmos at the moment within Island. So this is the web interface that most people will use to deploy and set up new projects, which is fairly simple. You can just create a new component, give it a name, and what type of project it is. I'm not going to do that because you can't delete stuff. Because frameworks have not fixed that yet. Go sit in front of the TV.
Not in front of it. To the side.
And you're late for lectures. Sit at the front. Come on.
You're lucky you're allowed in.
Yeah.
There's another rule. So anyhow, so we've got a few things up and running on Cosmos. So we had a JRuby test, just to make sure that we can actually run stuff quite simply. We've got this business news tagging, which is a prototype app made by Jeremy Tarling. This is the deployment screen. So if I want to deploy something quickly, that's that done. Enjoy your 2 weeks, guys. And that will go off and deploy once it's gone through. So all this is doing is it creates an AMI, which is an Amazon virtual machine, by overlaying all the stuff that we need onto a pre-built AMI. Then it will go through and install our package, all the packages that needs, and run any configuration scripts that we define.
Is it running the YUM on the other thing?
Yeah. So what happens is, on Jenkins, yes, because BBC have gone to the last decade and installed Jenkins instead of Hudson. So the workflow for this is, you run your normal build script like you would in Hudson or Jenkins. It sends off requests to S3, and it will store your RPM onto S3. So unlike normal BBC Forge structures where everything gets uploaded to yum.dev.bbc.co.uk and stores the RPM there, and then it's accessible on normal RPM, YUM server, sorry. It picks it off from S3 and installs it locally.
Okay.
And whatever dependencies happen, you found.
So even though Cosmos is a new thing, it's basically forged in the clouds.
Kinda,
Yeah.
except we get to do all of our own releases, and there are no parts of shared infrastructure. So your instance is just your instance.
Okay.
You can use whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
You
You don't have to use
Same
PHP.
framework.
You can. So we've got JRuby. You can run MRI Ruby.
Okay.
So which is the default preview that everyone gets used to.
And it doesn't have that each thing is its own HTTP instance. It's
Yep.
not, so you can't, it's not like the thing where on instant test where you can break the whole build server just by putting a bad
Yeah, so if
image
we
recipe in.
put a really dodgy RPM up, we're only going to break ourselves.
Okay.
And because of that, we get to do cool stuff like this. Oh, by the way, that's point start. Whilst we've been talking. So you can see what running instances are running. I'll get to how I define this in a moment. And you can do stuff like SSH access to your instance as a pseudo user. So if something is broken, you want to find out why, you can go in, get all the logs and everything that you want, and then you can debug it if you need. There's one caveat with that, is that an instance is terminated after an hour. So as soon as you SSH in, you've got an hour to do whatever you want, and then it's destroyed. And that's to stop tampering with it like that.
So if those infrastructure rules, I mean, I guess it means we're no longer hamstrung and having to build things back-end, server-side in Java.
So you can do whatever you want. So if I move,
Let's do it in Pascal.
this would be what? So that's me SSH'd into my box.
When you SSH here dies, the live server does.
Yeah. It will provision one in the background and then switch them out.
That's just sort of hacking.
Yeah. And just make sure that whatever's on the instance is what's meant to be on the instance. So if I do, because I know that everything is installed. I can go to Tomcat. This is my Ruby app. I know that I can change parts of the views or whatever. In an hour's time, that's trash. It's gone. And it's essentially to stop this, so the Syrian army can't come in, wipe a server out of all the data.
So when you make changes, you then what happens after that, and you want to keep them.
You do them locally, commit them, and deploy them.
So this is used for what? Just
So you can see
testing.
that's destroyed for whatever reason.
So the code is pulled from, the code's not pulled from Git though, is it?
In this case, yes.
Okay.
Because like all BBC things which I'm involved with, I side loaded Git onto it. Because Git is still not above standard BBC build system.
Could you hack something with Git using the hooks?
Yeah.
I assume maybe this is an obvious question, but can you control Cosmos from Jenkins? So they just automatically deploy.
Yeah.
Cool.
You can just send off a API request, same way that we would normally. It's something that I've yet to do.
So you could, as soon as you commit to GitHub, you could then run a deploy.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
You may not want to do it with the live environment for obvious reasons.
Is it done so that you can like script it to push the test straight away?
So in here we'll pretend that my build 97 is just finished. You can get that, so it will automatically go to Cosmos and push build 97 to my instances. And then test it, make sure it's okay, and then push straight to live. So we've got the live system, so we can pretend that build 42 was successful. And deploy, and that's going to the live servers, which I can access here.
So how many live servers are there per
As many as
live
you want.
site?
Which brings me to Stacks. So you define your own infrastructure with Cosmos. So you're not limited to, say, 2 EC2 instances. You can say, I want 100 because I'm running BBC News. All 100 don't have to be running at the same time. You can say run 2 as a start, and if we see a surge in traffic, spin up more instances. because we don't want to waste loads and loads of BBC money.
Is an instance just based on load? Is that it?
Yeah, you can define how you want to manage the load.
Okay.
So you can say if the CPU gets high, spin up another instance. Or you can say if traffic is high, spin up another instance.
Okay.
You can also do cool stuff like send 5% of full traffic to another set of servers which run a different branch.
Do you use Elasticache instead of the to distribute the cache between all of them?
At the minute, there's no caching. You have to figure that out yourself. So you might want to run Varnish somewhere or have everything funneled into and so. But there is a load balancer server in front of all these instances. So your traffic comes into the load balancer then splits off, which is all managed for you automatically.
Does it use ELB or is it just?
Yeah. So the typical request cycle comes into the BBC Varnish server. The Varnish server then hands it off. Well, not sorry, not the Varnish server. The ZTM hands it off to our ELB instance, and then that goes to a dedicated instance. This is how we've defined our stack. For those who can't see, let's quickly zoom in. So we've decided that we only ever want 2 instances running at the absolute most. But the same thing, we've also defined that the minimum is always 2. So your stack is defined by a CloudFormation template, which is an Amazon specific sort of DSL for defining infrastructure, and it knows how to manage it completely based around this. So anything you can do in CloudFormation, you can do in Cosmos. I've not even started scratching the surface of CloudFormation yet. You can also edit this on the fly after you've defined it. This is my stack, which is a very, very long blob of JSON. You can define IP addresses, S3, caching, and everything else somewhere in here. Also specify stuff like security groups, which ports you want to open, and everything else. Kind of cool.
Can you view the load currently on your instances now?
Yep.
So I've got a question. So at the moment with Forge, you've got these concepts of shared modules and shared libraries, which effectively code put in. How would you do that? Something like this?
You can build Cosmos libraries.
Yeah.
And they're shared. You can just say in the build script, put it in, you can use it. So firstly, I'll show you that. The load. So if we set for which I'm sure is running somewhere. So you can define monitoring, I see, but it's not being used obviously because it's just a prototype. You can see literally everything about your instance for metrics. Logging is kind of handled for you on Cosmos. Everything goes into something called Flume, which is just a collection point, and then it transfers it to a central place. And so there's an S3 bucket with all the logs in. And so you can access them that way, or you can run New Relic or something like that to collect. Somewhere in here there's a project of JSON.
This means basically you're not so reliant on ops now.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of level are they still involved in?
They're at the level where if something goes wrong, they'll phone you and you have to fix it.
Okay.
So if you're running BBC News and it happens to go down at 3 a.m. and you happen to be the one on call, you get the emails and phone calls and Ralph Riviera or whoever on your back saying fix it.
Okay. So no one's contracted to do anything like that.
Yeah.
So there's something with HR about what happens.
Yeah.
Some people want to do it, some people don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't matter. Yeah, like permanent staff.
Yeah.
I think there's still trying to.
There's two strategies, I think. Those who are on call at any given point either get a £200 a month or something like that extra,
I don't know the details.
or every blanket, everyone gets a 10% increase, some crap like that.
There's going to be some people that really want to do this stuff, and then other people that don't.
Yeah. So you could opt in, and if it's a blanket thing, get the extra pay rise, and just never be on call. I assume they do, because there's going to be teams. There's like, take World Service, they've got a team essentially comprised of contractors now.
That's you.
Yeah. Or you get, say the apps team, they have their content API wrapper service, and then the apps team is essentially just contractors.
Yeah.
So they don't have to.
Because you'd have people who see hours.
Yeah.
I guess if you're on call, it comes out of those hours for contractors. Anyhow, that's a HR technicality. Yeah.
Press the button.
Just redeploy, it'll be fine.
Well, Simon said you can SSH and fix stuff.
You can. So you'd have to do that every hour though.
Yeah. It's always alarm, but your alarm goes off.
I would assume, could you kind of almost automate this thing to this extent? Because you could like make snapshots. The system would have a state where you knew it was working.
The idea is that if you get a call at 4 a.m., you just roll back to the last known good point.
I guess it'd only be an issue if one of your dependencies had broken your code, but then if it was an internal dependency, you could just get them to roll back, couldn't you?
Yeah. So if, say, the content API was hosted on Cosmos and it went down, we get a phone call. Sport gets a phone call, and anyone else dependent on it gets a phone call. And then everyone works together to try and find the cause. And so if you can say with 100% certainty that it's CPS and they screwed up, you can either help them and be nice, or you can say, go back to bed. It's up to you.
The change management watch what you're doing,
No. There are no tickets for a release.
so they're redundant then, aren't they?
Yeah. But no. They don't. They want to roll out procedure and crap like that. So.
What about InfoSec?
So Cosmos is universally InfoSec approved, as far as I'm aware. They don't care. There's no InfoSec around spinning up instances. I guess there's an InfoSec around the initial project setup, which is why Kenny's not here now, because he's meeting all technical architects.
So does that mean the major thing that you're hamstrung on is basically controlling the BBC domain? Because isn't there only so many top-level domains you're allowed to add and whatnot?
So Cosmos gives everyone a subdomain, so you end up with your project.cloud.bbc.co.uk as business news tagging. This is hidden behind an SSL server at the moment because we don't want people from outside the BBC viewing it. Kind of brings me to this file. This is how you define a base level project and how to build it. It's quite simple, it's quite elegant for once. So you give it name, paths, tell if you want HTTPS, or if you want what type of certificates. So you can allow either developer certificates or people with just BBC desktop certificates, which is everyone in the BBC. You define how you want to package it. So type war, which is a Ruby type thing. Yeah, which port the application is running on once it's up and running. And you give it a status page. We learned the hard way that if you don't give Cosmos, a status page to look for, it breaks. So you just need a page that has
What's using the status page? Is it Varnish or something else?
the ELB instance. So we have a status page that says, okay.
Just drops the instances out of it.
So if that's not there, it breaks, and you end up wondering why you can't see anything, because you just get a white page back. And you look for everything and you think, hey, everything's okay. The one tell for that is when you're looking in the AWS status page, like you can go, let's play somewhere you can go do this. Anyway, somewhere in here you can see that your load balancer is a bit screwed.
I think it's on the left, the load balancer, isn't it? Bottom left.
Oh yeah. For some reason I thought it was in the mega menu.
It's weird, isn't it? It's like, it's another service, but it's actually part of EC2.
So somewhere in here is my load balancer. All of these many ones. And that gives you all the information, which may or may not be useful for you. But this goes and checks that status URL. I think that's pretty much Cosmos.
When you go to the Amazon console and stuff,
Yep.
it's literally what everybody's.
Yeah, you can see literally everything. So if you go to S3, for example, you can see everyone's bucket.
It's going to get massive, isn't it?
But you can't change any of that. You can only change your stuff, right?
Yep, you can't even change any. Well, you can't change anything in the AWS bandwidth read only.
Right. Okay.
So it's just there for quickly checking stuff.
So you're probably not going to use this on a daily basis unless.
Unless something screws up.
Right.
But so somewhere in here, there is a bucket that has all the RPMs and everything else as you find it. So it's probably that one, packages bucket. I'm really regretting having it. So yeah. So by project name is every build that I've ever done. Somewhere here. Incidentally, what is also in here is Sky iPlayer. So you can see every iPlayer application in its raw form, which is convenient if you want to download it.
What are they going to do with Burlesque?
Burlesque is a web service,
Yeah.
so you can just call it in with a HTTP call. So there's my yeah.
Does that lose a bit of functionality though if you do it that way?
Well, it misses client side now, but all the redirection stuff. So there's not really much branches in the service area. And you can change the page with parameters.
There's a new web service endpoint that was made just before I left, which was making it in JSON. That has lost some functionality, but that's with the idea that things like .com adverts are separate and they're their own web service and so on. So I don't think we'll lose anything by the end of it. No.
I guess that's a shift away from the shared modules. So it'd be more services and endpoints, isn't it?
So you can find that. Oh, not working. Well, that's every iPlayer application program that's currently on iPlayer. Like I say, you can't see everything. Well, you got to match it up to the PID. So you got to find the program ID on iPlayer, because they're all named with PID and a timestamp.
Yeah, there's some service in there you can check.
Yeah, there's
Do once.
you can
Gives you
figure it
the
out.
I suppose that's, yeah.
So is there still going to be someone kind of managing the infrastructure on a kind of like Gestalt level, or is it going to be pretty much everyone's own team? Because, like, for example, you get an email saying at the moment, "Oh, we're going to upgrade the version of jQuery." Would that be?
No.
Would those days be over now? It's pretty much you have whatever dependencies you want. You're responsible for managing them.
You're completely responsible for everything. Well, I say you, but John. It's all John.
Isn't frameworks loads
jQuery does loading.
I think maybe it's just required JS. There's going to be some things that everybody uses.
Because if you have
Required
this things
JS.
like SMP and whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be
You
some
have a
things.
requirement of
You'd have to build that yourself, though.
you are using the jQuery to make sure the APIs are going to work with SMP.
Yeah.
But it's good, like,
It's much better.
we can move faster.
I'd rather use this than Forge, even though that I could end up getting a phone call at 4 o'clock.
But it puts the onus on developers to not want to get broken up before.
Yeah.
And you do stuff
Like
Well,
if
that-
you're trying to cram everything into
like that.
like 2 weeks, like massive releases.
There's nothing like having a
Smaller.
million pull requests in a ginormous release.
But that was the problem with Forge. I'd spent a long time writing run books, setting Xenos monitoring, trying to do everything, and then when something went wrong, no operations wouldn't even do anything about it. And I guess the thing is, there was only so many instructions you could tell them to do anyway. It's like, oh, the content API's down. Give them a prods.
You still have to write run bugs, obviously.
But that would be for your fellow developers, though, wouldn't it?
Because operations will do a certain level to make sure that it's definitely your fault. So they're not waking up CPS. Yeah, Cosmos. And don't call it Cosmos. It's AWS. You get told off for just calling it Cosmos, unless you mean the actual tool. Now, everyone can go to Cosmos and sign up and see the scary "you're spending a lot of money" page.
Let's see that.
The market data app is going on it. So that's the first app, and if that's stable and acceptable, I guess some of the smaller apps could get
Or hourly.
Fuck, that's a lot of money, isn't it?
It's
$50,000 in S3.
Yeah. I think the business is meant to migrate within 2 years. That's what I was told. Everyone was meant to go oops. Yeah, so in October we spent $68,000 on EC2.
Just EC2s.
Sorry.
That's just
That's
S3.
aggregated, that's everything.
Oh,
that's BBC.
You can track, so you can track this down to a per app level. Somewhere around here. Operation usage type. I'm never gonna find it. Application.
John, are they doing away with all the infrastructure then? Like the backup data centers and stuff? Is that all going?
So Forge is going to be around for
Or just gonna be around forever.
a long time.
But it's just not going to be utilised. Like, I guess our current infrastructure is.
They'll start
Okay.
decommissioning boxes, I guess.
Yeah.
But all the traffic still comes to London.
Yeah, it still goes through.
Will it? I thought they were going to distribute the loads around the world. Isn't that going to happen?
The caches will be when the things are public cache with the
Yeah.
origin. I think any request is BBC.KDK will eventually come back to London when,
Oh, okay.
when the cache has been expired. Then there's routing to decide whether it gets to Forge or it goes to Amazon Box.
Okay.
So there may be certain things that will maybe always stay on Forge.
something to.
5 years.
So last month I spent $3. Woohoo!
But how would you do it though? Would you have like distributed varnish instances? Because like things like CloudFront is not very good because you can only vary. The vary support is so low.
So even with these new stuff and with the eyeball stuff, there's less and less berries anyway. So we've only got a few. So additions.
But it only varies on accepting coding CloudFronts.
Is that it? Well,
Yeah, that's it.
posted with-
I think that's the only thing it will vary on, maybe.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Probably varying other things if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I was-
It's HTTP 1.0 gzip. So not HTTP 1.1. Anyway.
But as for responsive news, our monolithic PAN app, there is hope. That's the UX framework stuff running on EC2. Just to prove it, there's a lovely bug in your code.
Oh,
Can't find the environments.
Well, this is what we want.
It'll take about 6 months, or we're going to
There
get
we
this
go.
now.
Lovely work. You guys might want to fix that.
It's working well.
It's fast now.
How would we deploy to that one? Do we have to do?
So
I mean, if we wanted that one to just poll Git to just pull the time, could we have that working?
Sorry, what?
this.
Because you'd almost want this poll in Git, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
This is on the latest changes, right?
So we're going to get it to poll every hour using a cron job for now.
Okay.
Because there's no point carrying down boxes and shooting back up.
That's running on our own.
Yeah, that's not running on Cosmos. That's running on the BBC News AWS instances.
So at the moment, if you on Cosmos, you can only have a test and a live thing. You can't have like ad hoc instances. So you can't just have UX framework version. So what we really want to be able to do is, as soon as you create a pull request, do something, and that's instantly available and tested against Cucumber, so you know how well it's tested.
So you can get Jenkins to manage Vagrant for you, which is really cool. So you can get Jenkins to essentially run that command for you.
Okay.
That's going off and running the develop branch.
But
So
if
you
you
could do that for any branch and then just share it with the branch and do it.
Yeah.
So that
That's
cra-
the idea of this.
That would be good.
that just creates one's view, doesn't it? If someone just ran that 1 minute before, you're not going to reuse their one.
They're just creating a new instance.
Yeah.
For you to manage.
So we probably want to wait to view what branches are currently out there, right?
Yeah, so ideally we're just going to make it so no one can actually do it this way, and Jenkins probably takes over.
You wouldn't want them for like a CSS change.
No.
You just want that. If you probably want it to show to stakeholders or other people. Yeah, it would be really cool. I suppose eventually the target is to run Cucumber against it before it's moved further, and then we're going to have less and less failures hopefully on the main developer side.
The idea is that these boxes will also self-destruct after a couple of hours, because we don't want a massive EC2 bug. And that's going to take a while because I've got a massive file in here. So
But if you're doing it that for a branch, why is it asyncing?
it's taking the contents of, so you see the bottom pane, it's uploading all of that up
Okay.
because it contains all my chef cookbooks. That's the only reason it's doing that.
But doesn't Chef have like a client master thing? So couldn't you just?
Yeah, you mean stuff like,
If that was the case, couldn't you just run the master locally, and then just have the clients being the machine you're spinning up, and not
So
have to
the idea-
async anything.
Because we're not going to be doing this all on laptops,
Yeah.
I've installed Chef
Okay.
onto a EC2 instance, and we can use that to manage all of our cookbooks. And then we don't have to do stuff like that.
Okay.
There's ways around everything. The side note is that these EC2 instances for branches and stuff like that don't have any certificates on them. So Pulsar won't work until they fix it and add it to Meshery. I've already filed a ticket with CPS. I asked Leon to do it about 6 months ago and he did and then left. So there's no record of me wanting this now.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got to go through all of this again. The idea behind those certificates is in case they're not particularly secure, and so we don't want to give people development access to the BBC infrastructure. Security, it works. Although they are probably more secure than normal Forge servers. Well, I'm running up-to-date software, which is one thing all frameworks can't say they're doing.
Cool, she's Simon. That's good. Exciting. It's the future.
It is. I guess everyone knows.
Not waking up before I have it.
Yeah.
That's not quite good.
I guess everyone knows.
It's like alarm bells and everything.
Yeah. I guess everyone knows about this Jenkins server now.
What's that?
Our personal Jenkins server.
Oh yeah, talk about that bit.
Yeah, so this has 3 jobs. You can ignore the first one because it's Kenny's and mine, and it's broken. It's the more important thing. The JavaScript one you can ignore too because I fixed it. Essentially, this is one that you see at the bottom of pull requests now, telling you that it's screwed up somewhere or it's working amazingly. That just runs over every branch and runs Code Sniffer and the JavaScript tests, which work 100% unless you break them.
What's up with doing PHP ones?
We need somewhere to. Essentially, we didn't have the EC2 instance thing before.
You should need these. You should be able to run them against the files.
Yeah, but then you need all the PAL crap. So we need to install those somewhere and then run them.
Oh, what we could do is, you've got PHP on that box.
Yeah.
We
We can just install all of those. That's not a problem.
And then run it against that.
I just have to install all the BBC packages.
Oh shit. They won't be available.
They're available.
Well, I guess you could just pull it down from SVN though, couldn't you? Because you can define dependencies to Composer, and you could just say,
Well, if we're doing that, we might as well just use Yum and install them. We've got the packages, we've got the certificates.
Okay, so it'll all work.
Yep.
But lots of the tests don't run on any. I suppose just the controller.
It's some that extend from normal BBC classes.
you'd be mocking like the logger or the cache.
You could probably mock the BBC specific classes.
If you're extending from it, your own class, it's a bit wonky.
Yeah.
What are the other ones that we need to do? There's Cosnif for the JavaScript tests.
Cucumber and PHP unit.
And then the ones you probably actually do need a
Yep.
running instance.
Which isn't that hard. Not now.
Not now. That's really cool.
Now it's just a couple of days working.
I think having the branches viewable from everybody is going to really help us just kind of communicate how far we're getting through it, rather than just being on a sandbox. The good old days of exposing it.
Oh, that
Did one service do it to like, I don't know, did it do something to Africa? Oh yeah, a couple of countries. Did it have expose your sandbox and then hopefully it was working? Actually, my laptop chained to the desk. The sandbox being on. So now we can use that.
You can just use someone with EC, with the VC AWS account who launched it. The dream is that we get our Jenkins instance to spawn EC2 instances that self-destruct after a couple of hours.
I think if the business market data stuff goes well, we can kind of see a way that we can start migrating components over to Cosmos in a slow, kind of nice migration, rather than like one big bang. Which would be really nice. Yeah. So the stuff that Simon and Kenny are working on is how we do that and how components are brought in from Cosmos into our kind of layout frame that's powered by our.
Wouldn't the spanner in the works be hole punching?
Mm.
Don't care about
Not really.
Probably end this discussion and go on with anything else that's in the list.
Yes, thanks, Simon. That's cool. What else is on the list? I think the other thing is.
So it's pull requests.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about pull requests. So I don't know what everyone feels about the pull request system at the moment, where it feels like everything's kind of a little bit ad hoc with reviewing. And we had all the tech leads together at the beginning of the week, and we were talking about whether we should try and study a different system, where maybe so we've got a few different options where we have a smaller selection of people that actually do reviewing and merging, or we have the normal people reviewing and then possibly the tech leads just double check and press the merge button. It's kind of like almost a last point of no return, where someone maybe I quite like the way the Guardian do it, where if you look at their pull requests, they'll like open GitHub, they just put like a thumbs up from the people that are probably experienced in that area, but also trying to work out which pull requests are really silly, like lots of the world service ones are kind of configuration and a little bit of translation stuff, and it's not a big problem. But then there's pull requests where they actually change stuff in core. For example, changing the way that the configurable control works, and kind of quite low-level stuff that maybe needs to go through a little bit more rigor than we have been doing. So there's a few things that have come through that I thought, well, that's a little bit not hacky, but maybe could have done in a better way. But it's been kind of pushed through, and it's not felt like it's been worked as much. So what does everyone want to think about how it's working at the moment?
Well, my suggestion to you was that I think anyone can comment on a ticket that's like work in progress or reviewed.
Yeah. So that's definitely, don't want to stop anything like that. I think that's what we really want to encourage everybody to like look through. I mean, I've got it on my Gmail account, so I just have my progress messages coming through really annoying on my phone, so I'm always like looking through them. But like, I encourage everyone to spend a little bit of time in the day just looking through other people's code. One, it's a really great way to learn how maybe to do stuff better. But when you see stuff that isn't quite right, you have no one's gonna. It doesn't matter who you are. You can comment on code and try and make, because it's a shared responsibility for everybody to try and make it things better. And even if we're under pressure to get stuff out the door, sometimes we just need to kick back. So I kind of think the two options are we either have the tech leads and some seniors just doing the reviewing. The problem with that is that it's the amount of time that we've got to do it. And so when we just need to mull on it a little bit more, so we either do that or we just leave, someone else reviews it and gives it the thumbs up on the comments, and then someone just gives a final check and presses the merge button. We've had quite a lot of merges going through that have been on it against a broken build, and that's caused quite a lot of headaches for people trying to debug what the hell's going on a 3-day broken build. It could have been like 30 different things. So we're just thinking about how we can kind of maybe tidy things up a little bit. Has anybody got any other thoughts about that? Do you think it's a bit draconian, or do you think like it's going to stop you working effectively?
I guess the thing is, if you open the floodgates, is it really as bad as you fear? Like in a way, because I guess the thing is, I guess if we're kind of like, because some of these things, for example, if you look back at the pull requests, some of them are months old, and some of them, if we did actually merge in, it's code has changed so much. You don't even know if it's going to break things then. So it's almost like, I think, just don't think it's bad to actually let things in and just fix things as they come up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I much prefer to have the good code before we merge in. Because our ideal was always that the developer is always deployable.
Yeah.
So you can have, if we have a problem with a live site, we should feel pretty confident that developers and also for the testers, they don't want to get to a place where it's just that orange.
I think it's just,
HTTP.
it's just the process, because I guess I did a change that's like, it was 20, just like a refactoring unit test, it's 20 lines, and I guess that wouldn't take long to review, but you don't want to, I don't want to be kind of prodding people like Simon and Kenny to say, can you review this? Because I know there's everyone else is doing that, so I guess I would like a way to help them out,
Yeah.
to get things out quicker.
Well, what's the practicality of having tech leads or principals actually handle the merging side of things? Because again, if that's restricted the actual merge part to those limited number of people, and you've got X number of devs all kind of saying, okay, my pull request is ready, it's reviewed, can you now just give it a going over? That person who's doing the merge still has to go through the code, still has to review it. That's still time.
Yeah, I think the problem is that we're talking about having an enforced list of people who can merge pull requests, right? That I think the problem is that you're right, we don't have enough time to do it, which is why it's not necessarily being done, and you're having to take, like, everyone's having to take matters into their own hands to a certain extent. And the issue is that there isn't enough time, but forcing it through our hands kind of makes us accountable for it. We should be accountable for it, and at the moment we're kind of skipping it out a bit. So it highlights the issue. It doesn't solve the issue, but it highlights.
I just wonder if there's
bottleneck.
2 points to make. Whether one is what happens if a tech lead isn't available to review it and it sits there for a day or two, and in that day or two more changes come in that cause it to break.
Yeah.
It's a knock-on effect, but I feel that's one point. But the other thing is, does it not highlight that maybe the pull requests should be broken down even further still? Because I know that we've said it before about breaking down pull requests, so they're just based around a particular feature. But even still, we seem to get these monolithic sort of pull requests that kind of churn out from lots of work. Maybe let's just extend over the course of this particular piece of work has taken a long time. Whether having very granular sort of pull requests makes the review process a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's
For
definitely.
you guys, because obviously you can just look at it and go, well, there's 3 commits in there, I can whiz through that and know it's going to work. And it might be like a micro pull request based on kind of like the mega branch sort of stuff, but on a small scale.
Yeah.
Especially if we do the cucumber stuff, because Simon's kind of because then they're going to be a lot quicker to review it.
We won't have to run the tests. That's the issue. That if we have to run the cucumber test ourselves, that takes a long time. If you've got to do that like 5 or 6 times in a day, that's a day spent waiting for the test to run. So yeah, I think that being able to run the tests remotely will help a lot.
But then breaking up is a tricky bit, because sometimes I've done bits of work, like, what's an example? Like, I'm doing the feature analysis, and I write some unit tests. I'm doing a refactor, so I write some unit tests, and then I'm going to refactor the code. And I was kind of thinking, should I just create a branch just for the unit tests and push those out? But then the problem is, then if I'm working on my other branch, I'm refactoring the code, and I don't have the merged in units. So if things got merged, if I can do really small things, like got merged and developed in a couple of hours, I would break all that stuff up. But if I have to wait days, then it's easy just to put it all in one big request that can contain all that work that relates to that thing.
But that's like hiding the problem, really, isn't it? Like the reason why some pull requests take days to review is because you look at them and there's loads of stuff there. I can't do that right now. I'll put that off for a little bit. Whereas if they were smaller in the first place, maybe that wouldn't happen. So
Yeah. I guess it just means I'd have to have other tasks working if that thing was blocked, because then if I was waiting for the unit test to go in for a bit of refactoring work, I couldn't really start the refactoring unless I kind of branched my branch.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. that's probably the thing there. If you're dependent upon that pull request to do more work, you could probably branch from there, and then if it gets reviewed and you want to change it, you just pull from the head of that branch again and carry on the work.
So does that mean we should go to an approach of work where you create your branch, you do a little bit of work, you submit a pull request, then you then branch that branch, you do a little bit more work, then you branch that branch, or is that?
Well, yeah, and hope that the queue doesn't get too big.
So that's what I've done. But yeah,
Yeah, the UX build is quite a new model. Well, it's a bit different to most features of the build, but it seems to be working quite well.
But I don't know, would it get messy if you keep on branching out most branches?
well, it just makes it clearer to review.
Yeah.
You know.
And it
when
depends
you-
how granular it's going to be. Not most stuff surely isn't going to be literally like a one commit sort of pull request. I mean, unless it actually needs to be. But,
Okay.
I can't imagine they're going to spot up. I doubt, like in one feature, you're going to have 20 different pull requests that are branched off sequentially through each other. I would have thought. Maybe they will.
I know sometimes you can kind of spot stuff as you're going along, and you might necessarily put it in this giant pull request, but you can kind of branch off, develop, and sort of. You can't necessarily have to do it sequentially. You can kind of do it as a separate thing as you notice as you go
But
along.
with this example I'm giving where I'm writing a unit test for a refactoring piece of code that doesn't have full unit tests, I'll have to branch the branch I created for the unit tests.
Yeah, I think you have to do that sometimes. But you don't always have to do it.
So how does this work? So you'd have your pull request branch. You'd then branch off to do something extended onto that.
Yeah.
Your initial pull request branch gets merged in the meantime. Can you then, when that branch of a branch gets reviewed, can that then just be merged to develop, or does that?
Yeah. So if you're like you've created a branch, a pull request, and you branch off it, that has all the commits over here and all the commits over here. And when this goes in, this one goes to you, and that gets rid of all the other ones that we wanted to develop, as long as you make it against develop.
So
would you need to change your secondary pull request to then be merged into develop? You have to go back and
You
change
probably wouldn't create another pull request against your branch. I probably wouldn't do that.
No, I just mean, could you go back and edit your branch of a branch to say, okay, my initial branch that I branched off is now in develop. Can I edit this secondary branch to then be merged back in develop? Or is there
So
a
that
way
happens. That happens automatically as soon as the commits from your first branch go back into develop.
Yeah.
They all appear, and you've merged develop into your branch. They all appear over here. So it kind of it just works.
I'll trust
If
it.
you wanted to view like the difference between the two branches, you can compare your branch against something other than develop. So
No,
that's-
my only confusion was just how you merged the sub branch back into develop. I just didn't know how that worked.
As long as you put in so the changes go from the first branch into develop, and you pull develop into your
Back
second
into your
branch,
second branch.
and
Yeah.
then you've only got your changes on there, and it knows about the stuff that's come via the backup.
I think it's more the GUI side of GitHub when you actually open up a.
Yeah.
Oh, because I'd open up a pull request for my sub branch.
If you open up all the pull requests
So
against,
update itself.
Yeah, sorry, ignore me.
It's confusing.
if you make all the pull requests against develop, as long as you merge them in the right order, they'll all sort themselves out.
Yeah, sorry, no, I there was a flaw in my confusion.
So is this what we should do for these monolithic commits? Start branching pull requests?
Yeah.
Okay.
When it comes to releases, do we then have to have a senior or a tech lead to handle the merging of the hotfixes that go into the release? Is it the same for that or not?
I would think hotfixes are even more risky than anything else, so I think they need to have even more eyes on it, basically. Like, yeah, we just want experienced people. It's not particularly about your label. It's just we just want to protect the code base as much as we can, and we know as we get more and more people, so it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's getting harder to have that kind of oversight if things are getting merged in all over the place and not always having the same kind of disciplines reviewing on it.
I think part of the problem is we've made some architectural decisions with the application, like the configuration stuff and the configurable configurable pages, the way the configurable pages work, that we haven't necessarily communicated to everyone as the development team has grown. People have joined after those decisions have been made, and then that hasn't been communicated to everyone. So not everyone has an idea of like the direction we want to push things in. Does that make sense?
So we're thinking about maybe just doing another probably another hour of like an overview of the present stuff, the component stuff, how it integrates with the Cosmos, the little portal stuff. For like maybe people who just joined quite recently, well, that might be quite a good idea just to make sure everyone's on the kind of same level. Because it is quite, you can't really buy a book and just read it. It's kind of patterns that we've kind of come up with, between us. So just need to make sure that knowledge is spread across everybody. Cool, it's 11 o'clock.